Ladies and gentlemen, today we're not just talking about success, we're igniting a movement to break the chains holding you back and set you on fire for the life you deserve. But here's the deal, success doesn't come from adding more to your plate. Sometimes it's about letting go. If you truly want to rise, you must stop 3 things that are sabotaging your greatness. Let's dive into them. Excuses are the lies we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility. I don't have the time, I'm not ready. Sound familiar? Listen, your life doesn't care about your excuses. The clock is ticking, and every moment you spend justifying inaction is a moment stolen from your dreams. If it's important, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. Choose wisely. How many of you have felt paralyzed by your own thoughts? You want every decision to be perfect, every move calculated. But here's the truth, clarity comes through action, not thought. Overthinking doesn't prevent failure, it guarantees it. Stop waiting for certainty, start moving. Even the wrong step forward is better than standing still. Let's call procrastination what it is, fear in disguise. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow isn't promised. Success belongs to those who start now. Take the smallest step today and watch how momentum transforms your life. If you can stop these 3 things, excuses, overthinking, and procrastination, you'll unlock a power you didn't know you had. You'll realize the only thing standing between you and your dream is the person you see in the mirror. Success doesn't come to the chosen few, it comes to the committed few. Commit to stopping what's holding you back. Commit to stepping into your power. Because the world doesn't just need you to succeed, it's waiting for you to lead. Let's make it happen. Excuses are the silent killers of dreams. They sneak into our minds, disguised as reasons, and rob us of the opportunities we're capable of seizing. Think about it, how many times have you convinced yourself that you're too busy, too tired, or just not ready? The problem with excuses is that they feel real in the moment. They protect you from discomfort, shield you from risk, and give you a false sense of control. But in reality, excuses are chains that bind you to mediocrity. Here's the raw truth, life doesn't care about your excuses. The world will keep spinning, opportunities will pass by, and someone else will step into the space you were meant to occupy. Every time you say, I don't have time, what you're really saying is, it's not a priority. Think about that. When you tell yourself you're too tired, what you're really saying is, I'm not willing to dig deep and push past my limits. Excuses are seductive because they absolve you of responsibility. They allow you to shift the blame to circumstances, to other people, to bad timing. But here's the thing, every time you make an excuse, you're giving away your power. You're telling yourself that you're a victim of your situation rather than the creator of your destiny. Now I get it. Excuses are comforting, they're easy. But success demands that you step out of the comfort zone and take full ownership of your life. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or ideal conditions, because those will never come. The people who achieve greatness aren't the ones with the least obstacles. They're the ones who stop making excuses and find a way forward no matter what. So ask yourself, what are the excuses you've been making? Be honest. Are you telling yourself that you're too old to start over, too young to be taken seriously, or that you don't have the resources? Every excuse you make is a brick in the wall separating you from your dreams. And here's the powerful truth, you have the ability to tear that wall down. It starts with changing your mindset. Replace I can't with how can I replace it's not possible with what's the first step I can take. Excuses are powerless against a mind that is determined to find solutions. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you take back control of your life. Remember this, excuses will always be there if you're looking for them, but so will the opportunity to rise above them. Success doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence, it demands courage, and most of all, it demands that you stop making excuses and start making moves. Your time is now, no excuses, no delays, just action. Overthinking is a mental trap that can paralyze even the most capable among us. It's like running on a treadmill. Your mind is constantly moving, but you're not going anywhere. You analyze every detail, consider every possible outcome, and replay every scenario in your head, hoping to find the perfect solution. But here's the irony. The more you think, the more confused and stuck you feel. Overthinking doesn't create clarity, it creates chaos. The problem with overthinking is that it's rooted in fear of making the wrong decision, fear of failure, fear of judgment. So instead of taking action, you get stuck in a loop, convincing yourself that if you just think a little harder or gather a little more information, you'll finally feel ready. But readiness doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. Clarity comes through action, not deliberation. Overthinking often disguises itself as responsibility or thoroughness. You tell yourself, I'm just being careful, or I need to plan this out. But let's be honest, how much of that planning is actually productive? How often does it lead to action, and how often does it lead to frustration and self-doubt? When you overthink, you're not solving problems, you're creating new ones. You're building mountains out of molehills, questioning decisions that don't need to be questioned, and wasting time that could be spent moving forward. What's even more dangerous is that overthinking feeds into itself. The longer you stay in your head, the harder it becomes to break free. You start second-guessing not just your decisions, but your abilities, your instincts, and your worth. This mental spiral keeps you stuck while opportunities pass you by and momentum slips through your fingers. The truth is, you don't need to have everything figured out to take the next step. Perfection is not a prerequisite for progress. In fact, most of the time, your first move won't be perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that you're moving. Action creates feedback, and feedback creates growth. Every step you take teaches you something valuable, whether it's what works or what doesn't. But you'll never learn those lessons if you're too busy overthinking to start. To break free from overthinking, you need to shift your focus from what if to what's next. Stop trying to predict every outcome or control every variable. Instead, commit to taking the next best step, even if it feels uncertain. Embrace the idea that mistakes are part of the process, not signs of failure. Remember, the most successful people in the world didn't wait for perfect conditions. They started, stumbled, learned, and kept going. So the next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what's one small action I can take right now, then do it. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect or if you're unsure of what comes next. What matters is that you're moving forward one step at a time. Overthinking is a habit, but so is action. The choice is yours. Will you stay stuck in your mind, or will you step into the world and make things happen? Progress isn't about having all the answers, it's about having the courage to begin. Stop overthinking and start living. Your dreams are waiting for you to act, not analyze. Procrastination is the silent thief of potential. It whispers in your ear, telling you there's always tomorrow, that you'll start when the time is right or when you feel ready. It lulls you into a false sense of security, convincing you that delaying action is harmless. But make no mistake, procrastination is not harmless. It's a slow erosion of your dreams, your opportunities, and your self-belief. At its core, procrastination isn't just about laziness or lack of motivation, it's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of stepping into the unknown. It's easier to delay than to confront those fears head on. By putting things off, you avoid discomfort in the short term, but you pay a much higher price in the long run: missed chances, unfulfilled goals, and the lingering regret of knowing you could have done more. What makes procrastination so dangerous is its seductive nature. It offers temporary relief from stress, convincing you that later is a legitimate solution. But later is a lie. The more you procrastinate, the heavier the task becomes in your mind. What starts as a small job morphs into a daunting, overwhelming mountain simply because you've allowed it to linger. And the more time you spend avoiding it, the more energy you waste thinking about it rather than taking action. Procrastination also chips away at your confidence. Each time you delay, you send a subtle message to yourself that you're not capable, not disciplined, or not ready. Over time, this erodes your belief in your ability to follow through, making it even harder to start the next task. It's a vicious cycle. Procrastination breeds self-doubt, and self-doubt fuels more procrastination. The truth is, waiting for the perfect moment is an illusion. There is no perfect moment. Conditions will never be ideal, and you will rarely feel 100% ready. Success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who start. The key to breaking free from procrastination is realizing that action creates momentum, and momentum creates progress. Start small. You don't need to tackle the entire task at once, just commit to the first step. Often the hardest part is simply beginning. Once you take that initial action, the inertia shifts, and what felt impossible starts to feel manageable. Each small win builds confidence, making the next step easier. Recognize the stories you tell yourself about why you're delaying. Are you waiting for inspiration, for more time, for everything to fall into place? Challenge those narratives. Inspiration often comes after you start, not before. Time isn't something you find, it's something you make, and things rarely fall into place on their own. You have to move them. Procrastination doesn't just steal your time, it steals your potential. Every moment spent avoiding action is a moment you could be growing, learning, and achieving. The cost of procrastination isn't just in what you don't accomplish today, it's in the opportunities you miss tomorrow. The good news is you have the power to change this. Every time you choose action over delay, you strengthen the habit of productivity. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. You won't always feel motivated, but you can always choose to take one small step forward. Remember, success belongs to those who act, not to those who wait. Procrastination may feel safe, but it's a trap. Don't let it rob you of the life you're capable of living. Start now, not tomorrow, not later now. Your future self will thank you. Negative self-talk is one of the most destructive habits we can engage in, yet it often goes unnoticed because it happens quietly in the background of our minds. It's that critical inner voice that doubts your abilities, questions your worth, and amplifies your fears. It's the voice that says, you're not good enough, you'll never succeed, or why even bother over time. These thoughts don't just reflect how you feel, they shape who you become. The danger of negative self-talk lies in its subtlety and repetition. A single negative thought may seem harmless, but when those thoughts repeat day after day, they create a mental narrative. This narrative becomes a belief, and that belief starts to dictate your actions or lack thereof. If you tell yourself you're not capable long enough, you'll stop trying. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll avoid opportunities. Negative self-talk becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, holding you back from your true potential. This inner critic often disguises itself as realism or humility. You might think you're just being practical, preparing for the worst, or keeping your ego in check. But there's a fine line between self-awareness and self-sabotage. When your inner dialogue is dominated by criticism and doubt, it's like carrying around an invisible weight. Every decision becomes harder, every setback feels like proof of failure, and every success is overshadowed by the fear that it won't last. Negative self-talk is deeply rooted in fear and insecurity. It thrives on past failures, magnifying them until they seem insurmountable. It compares you to others, convincing you that you'll never measure up. And it preys on your imperfections, making you forget that flaws are a natural part of being human. But here's the truth: your worth is not determined by your mistakes or your doubts. It's determined by your willingness to rise above them. The first step to breaking free from negative self-talk is awareness. Pay attention to the words you use when you talk to yourself. Would you speak to a loved one the way you speak to yourself? Imagine if you had a friend who constantly criticized you, pointed out your flaws, and doubted your abilities. How long would you keep that person in your life? Yet many of us allow our inner critic to have free rein, treating ourselves in ways we would never tolerate from others. Once you recognize the patterns, you can start to challenge them. Not every thought you have is true. Just because your mind tells you something doesn't mean you have to believe it. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, pause and ask, says who? Replace those thoughts with empowering ones. Instead of I can't do this, try, I'm learning how to do this. Instead of I always fail, say. Every failure is a step towards success. Rewiring your inner dialogue takes time and effort, but it's one of the most powerful changes you can make. Your words shape your reality. When you speak to yourself with kindness, encouragement, and belief, you start to see new possibilities. You take more risks, recover faster from setbacks, and approach challenges with confidence. It's not about ignoring your flaws or pretending everything is perfect. It's about reframing how you see yourself and your journey. You are not your mistakes, your insecurities, or your doubts. You are the person who keeps showing up, who keeps trying, who keeps growing, and who keeps growing. Remember, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Treat yourself with the respect and compassion you deserve. Speak to yourself like someone you're rooting for, because you are the only person who will be with you every step of the way. Negative self-talk might feel like a habit you can't break, but you have the power to rewrite the script. Start today. Every time you choose a positive thought over a negative one, you take back control. You shift the narrative from one of limitation to one of possibility. And when you change the way you speak to yourself, you change the way you show up in the world. You are more powerful than you think. Never let that voice convince you otherwise. Blaming others is one of the most insidious barriers to success because it shifts the focus away from the one thing you can control: yourself. When you point fingers at other people's circumstances or external forces, you give away your power. It may feel justified in the moment, even comforting, but blaming others is a trap that keeps you stuck and prevents you from growing. At its core, blaming others stems from a desire to avoid discomfort. It's uncomfortable to admit mistakes, take responsibility for failures, or confront areas where we've fallen short. So instead, we look outward. We blame the boss for not recognizing our efforts, the economy for limiting our opportunities, or the people around us for holding us back. But the truth is, blaming others doesn't solve anything. It doesn't change the situation or move you closer to your goals. It only delays the solutions and deepens your frustration. Blaming also creates a victim mindset. When you believe that others are responsible for your struggles, you position yourself as powerless, as if life is something that happens to you rather than something you create. This mindset robs you of agency and initiative. Why try to fix something if you believe it's someone else's fault? Why take action if you've convinced yourself that the problem is beyond your control? Over time, this pattern erodes your confidence and resilience. Each time you blame someone else, you reinforce the idea that you are not in charge of your life. This weakens your ability to handle challenges, make decisions, and bounce back from setbacks. It also damages your relationships, as constant blame creates resentment, erodes trust, and pushes people away. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, is one of the most empowering things you can do. It's not about blaming yourself or carrying guilt. It's about recognizing that you have the ability to influence your circumstances and outcomes. When you take ownership of your choices, actions, and mindset, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a passive participant in your life to an active creator of your future. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you ignore external factors or pretend everything is under your control. It means acknowledging what is within your control, your reactions, your decisions, and your ability to adapt. For example, you may not be able to control how someone treats you, but you can control how you respond. You may not control the economy, but you can control how you prepare, learn, and take advantage of opportunities. Breaking free from the habit of blaming others starts with self-awareness. When something goes wrong, pause and ask yourself, what part of this do I own? What could I have done differently? What can I do now to improve the situation? This shift in perspective is powerful because it moves you from a state of helplessness to one of possibility. It's also important to understand that blame and accountability are not the same thing. Accountability is about taking charge of your role and your actions. Blame, on the other hand, is about deflecting responsibility onto others. True growth happens when you stop focusing on who's at fault and start focusing on what can be done. When you stop blaming others, you not only grow as an individual, but also inspire others. People respect those who take ownership of their lives, who are willing to admit when they're wrong, and who are committed to finding solutions. This kind of leadership builds trust. Trust strengthens relationships and creates opportunities for collaboration and growth. Blaming others might feel like the easier path, but it's a dead-end road. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of frustration and action, while responsibility leads to progress and empowerment. Every time you take ownership of your life, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of creating the results you want. Your circumstances do not define your destiny, your choices do. When you stop blaming others and start taking responsibility, you unlock your potential and step into a life of greater freedom, fulfillment, and success. The power to change your life has been in your hands all along. Use it. Fear of failure is one of the greatest obstacles to success, yet it's something almost everyone wrestles with. It's the voice in your head that whispers, what if I try and fall flat on my face? What if I'm not good enough? What will people think? This fear can feel so overwhelming that it stops you before you even start, trapping you in a cycle of hesitation, avoidance, and regret. At its core, fear of failure is rooted in the fear of pain, emotional, social, or financial. We fear embarrassment, rejection, or the sting of feeling inadequate. Our minds build these scenarios into catastrophic outcomes, making failure feel like something we must avoid at all costs. But in reality, failure is not the monster we make it out to be. It's not the opposite of success, it's a critical part of it. Failure is how we learn. Every mistake you make holds a lesson, a piece of the puzzle that helps you grow, improve, and eventually succeed. Think about anyone who has achieved greatness, an athlete, an entrepreneur, an artist. Behind every success story is a trail of failures, missteps, and lessons learned. Michael Jordan once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." The problem with fearing failure isn't the failure itself, it's the way we interpret it. Too often we see failure as a reflection of our worth rather than as a temporary result of our efforts. We internalize it, believing that failing means we're not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. This mindset is toxic because it turns a single setback into a defining moment, convincing us that we're destined to fall short. But failure doesn't define you, your response to it does. Every failure is an opportunity to adjust your strategy, build resilience, and come back stronger. The only real failure is giving up or refusing to try in the first place. As long as you're learning, growing, and moving forward, you're succeeding. The fear of failure also stems from a desire for certainty and control. We want guarantees that our efforts will pay off before we even begin. But success doesn't come with guarantees, it comes with risk. Every worthwhile achievement requires stepping into the unknown, taking chances, and being willing to fall. If you wait for certainty, you'll be waiting forever. To overcome the fear of failure, you have to reframe the way you see it. Instead of viewing failure as an end, see it as a stepping stone. Each attempt, whether it works or not, brings you closer to your goal. Failure isn't final, it's feedback. It's life's way of showing you what needs to be adjusted or improved. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if you fail? Often the answer is far less catastrophic than your mind imagines. You might face temporary disappointment, lose some time, or have to adjust your approach. But those outcomes are manageable, and they're nothing compared to the pain of living with regret. The regret of not trying, not risking, and not giving yourself the chance to succeed is far heavier than any failure you might face. It's also important to remember that fear of failure is often rooted in the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think if we fail. But here's the truth, most people are too focused on their own lives to dwell on your setbacks. And those who do judge you for trying aren't the kind of people whose opinions should matter. What matters is how you feel about yourself, whether you can look in the mirror and say, I gave it my all. Action is the antidote to fear. The more you move forward, the smaller your fears become. Start with small steps and let the momentum build. With each action, you'll prove to yourself that failure isn't the end, it's part of the journey. The most successful people in the world are not those who avoided failure, but those who embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel to keep going. Failure is not something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. It's proof that you're trying, learning, and stepping out of your comfort zone. And when you stop fearing failure, you open the door to a world of possibilities. Success isn't about never falling, it's about always getting back up. Toxic relationships are like invisible chains quietly binding you and draining your energy, confidence, and potential. These relationships, whether with a partner, friend, family member, or colleague, are characterized by negativity, control, manipulation, or lack of respect. They don't just harm your emotional well-being, they hold you back from pursuing your goals, realizing your dreams, and living a fulfilling life. A toxic relationship often doesn't start that way. It may begin with charm, connection, or even support. But over time, subtle patterns of criticism, manipulation, or emotional neglect emerge. Toxic relationships thrive on imbalance. One person exerts control, belittles, or takes far more than they give, leaving the other feeling diminished, undervalued, and exhausted. What makes these relationships so damaging is their ability to distort your perception of yourself. Constant criticism can make you question your worth. Emotional manipulation can make you doubt your judgment. And an ongoing lack of support can leave you feeling alone, even when you're not. The longer you stay in a toxic relationship, the more it chips away your self-esteem, making it harder to recognize your own value and walk away. Toxic relationships also breed a sense of dependency. You may convince yourself that things will get better, that you need this person, or that leaving would cause more harm than staying. You might feel trapped by guilt, fear, or the belief that you can't do better. These thoughts are lies perpetuated by the toxicity itself, designed to keep you stuck. The effects of a toxic relationship ripple out into every area of your life. They cloud your ability to focus, sap your energy, and drain the emotional resources you need to pursue your goals. Toxic people often demand your time, attention, and energy, leaving little for the things that truly matter to you. They might discourage your ambitions, dismiss your achievements, or make you feel selfish for prioritizing your growth. It's crucial to recognize the signs of a toxic relationship. These include constant negativity, lack of respect for boundaries, manipulation, emotional abuse, and a pattern of taking without giving. A toxic person might gaslight you, making you question your reality, or use guilt to control you. Healthy relationships, in contrast, are built on mutual respect, support, and trust. They lift you up, not tear you down. Walking away from a toxic relationship is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can take. It's not easy. It requires courage, clarity, and a willingness to prioritize your well-being. You might fear the confrontation, the loss, or the uncertainty of what comes next. But staying in a toxic relationship costs far more than leaving ever will. It costs you your peace of mind, your happiness, and your potential. To break free, you must first acknowledge the truth. Denial only prolongs the harm. Accept that the relationship is unhealthy and that you deserve better. Surround yourself with supportive people who can help you see your value and provide the encouragement you need to take action. Setting boundaries is critical. Toxic individuals often resist boundaries, but standing firm is essential for your growth and wealth and well-being. Communicate your needs clearly and don't be afraid to enforce consequences if those boundaries are violated. Remember, you're not responsible for someone else's reactions, you're responsible for protecting your own emotional and mental health. Letting go of a toxic relationship can feel like a loss, even if it's a necessary one. It's natural to grieve, but it's also an opportunity to rediscover yourself. Without the constant negativity and control, you'll have the space to heal, rebuild your confidence, and focus on what truly matters. Healing from a toxic relationship takes time and effort. It requires forgiveness, not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself. Forgive yourself for staying as long as you did, for believing the lies, or for not recognizing the toxicity sooner. Understand that walking away is not a sign of weakness, it's a testament to your strength and your commitment to living a healthier, happier life. Toxic relationships teach powerful lessons. They show you what you don't want and help you understand the importance of surrounding yourself with people who respect, support, and uplift you. Use those lessons to create a new standard for the relationships you allow into your life. You are not defined by the toxic people in your past. You have the power to break free, to set boundaries, and to choose relationships that nurture your growth. Walking away from toxicity isn't just about ending something harmful, it's about making room for something better. You deserve relationships that bring out the best in you, not the worst. The moment you choose to let go of what's weighing you down, you open the door to a life of greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. Comparison is a thief that steals your joy, confidence, and focus. It's a deeply ingrained habit for many, driven by the natural human desire to evaluate where we stand in relation to others. But in today's world, fueled by social media, curated success stories, and constant exposure to others' highlights, comparison has become more pervasive and destructive than ever. It's a silent force that can derail your progress and make you question your worth, leaving you feeling inadequate and unfulfilled. When you compare yourself to others, you're often judging your behind-the-scenes reality against someone else's carefully presented highlight reel. You see their achievements, their seemingly perfect lives, and their milestones, but you don't see the struggles, failures, or sacrifices that lie beneath the surface. This incomplete picture creates an illusion that others have it easier, better, or more figured out than you do. It's not just unfair, it's unrealistic. The problem with comparison is that it shifts your focus away from your own path and onto someone else's. Instead of working toward your goals, you become preoccupied with measuring up to others. This mindset leads to constant dissatisfaction because there will always be someone ahead of you in some area, whether it's career success, financial stability, relationships, or physical appearance. Chasing the idea of being better than someone else is a race with no finish line. Comparison also diminishes your self-worth. It magnifies what you perceive as your shortcomings while downplaying your strengths and accomplishments. The more you focus on what others have, the less you appreciate what you've achieved. This not only affects your confidence, but also your motivation. Why try if you believe you'll never be as good as someone else? Beyond self-esteem, comparison can damage relationships. Instead of celebrating others' successes, you may find yourself feeling envious or resentful. This creates unnecessary tension and prevents you from forming authentic connections. A mindset rooted in comparison turns other people's achievements into a source of pain rather than inspiration. But comparison isn't inherently bad, it depends on how you use it. When approached constructively, it can serve as a source of inspiration or a benchmark for growth. The key is to shift your perspective from envy to curiosity. Instead of asking, why am I not like them? Ask, what can I learn from their journey? How can I use their success to fuel my own? The antidote to destructive comparison is self-awareness and gratitude. First, recognize when you're falling into the trap of comparing yourself to others. Pay attention to the triggers, whether it's scrolling through social media, hearing about someone's success, or facing a setback of your own. Once you're aware, consciously redirect your focus inward. Gratitude is a powerful tool for breaking free from comparison. When you take stock of your own achievements, strengths, and blessings, you start to see the value in your unique journey. Gratitude shifts your attention from what you lack to what you have, reminding you that your worth isn't determined by external validation. It's also crucial to understand that everyone's path is different. Life isn't a competition, it's a personal journey. Your goals, struggles, and progress are unique to you, and comparing them to someone else's is like comparing apples to oranges. What matters is not how you measure up to others, but how far you've come compared to where you started. Set your own standards for success. Define what happiness, achievement, and fulfillment mean to you, independent of societal expectations or others' opinions. When you focus on your own values and aspirations, you reclaim the power to shape your life according to what truly matters to you. Remember, the only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Growth isn't about being better than someone else, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and acknowledge the effort it takes to keep moving forward. Comparison will always exist, but it doesn't have to control you. By shifting your focus inward, practicing gratitude, and embracing your unique journey, you can turn comparison into a tool for growth rather than a source of frustration. Your path is your own, and there's no one else in the world who can walk it but you. Stay focused on your journey, and success will follow. Perfectionism is one of the most debilitating forces that keeps people trapped in cycles of doubt, delay, and dissatisfaction. At its core, perfectionism is a relentless pursuit of an ideal that doesn't exist, a constant striving for flawlessness that ultimately undermines progress and happiness. Perfectionists often feel that nothing is ever good enough, that every detail must be meticulously polished, and that failure to reach these impossibly high standards reflects inadequacy or failure. This mindset doesn't push you to do your best, it paralyzes you with fear, making you second-guess yourself at every turn and hindering your ability to take meaningful action. The problem with perfectionism is that it creates an illusion of control. Perfectionists believe that if they can just get everything right, if they can perfect every task, every conversation, every moment, then they will achieve success, approval, or happiness. But perfection doesn't exist in the real world. Every time a perfectionist reaches for it, they move further from the satisfaction they crave. Perfection is an unattainable target. And the closer you think you're getting, the more elusive it becomes. The pursuit itself becomes an endless loop, draining your energy and focus without yielding any real progress. Perfectionism often masquerades as ambition or a desire for excellence, but the truth is it's rooted in fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. The perfectionist doesn't take risks or step outside their comfort zone because there's always the possibility of not meeting their own rigid standards. They avoid challenges and new opportunities because the outcome is uncertain, and uncertainty might mean making mistakes. But mistakes are not only inevitable, they are necessary for growth. Without failure, there is no learning, no improvement, no true mastery. In relationships, perfectionism can also be toxic. Perfectionists often hold others to the same impossible standards, expecting them to behave, perform, or act in ways that align with their idealized vision. This creates tension as no one can live up to such high expectations all the time. The perfectionist becomes frustrated and disappointed, while others may feel judged, unappreciated, or criticized. This cycle of unrealistic demands and constant dissatisfaction destroys trust and intimacy, leaving the perfectionist isolated and unfulfilled. Perhaps the most damaging consequence of perfectionism is that it prevents action. A perfectionist is often too focused on the idea of getting something perfect to ever actually start or finish it. They endlessly tweak, overthink, and refine, never reaching a point of completion because they're always finding something to improve. As a result, projects get delayed, opportunities are missed, and goals are never achieved. Progress, however small, is far more valuable than perfection. Success doesn't come from flawless execution, it comes from consistent effort, adaptability, and the willingness to learn along the way. Perfectionism also sows deep self-criticism. Because nothing ever feels perfect enough, the perfectionist's internal dialogue is filled with harsh judgment, self-doubt, and feelings of inadequacy. This constant self-reprimand erodes self-esteem, making it harder to feel proud of accomplishments or even acknowledge how much you've grown. In the mind of a perfectionist, the bar is always set higher, leaving little room for celebration, reflection, or self-compassion. To overcome perfectionism, it's essential to redefine what success means. Success is not about being flawless, it's about being resilient, adaptable, and willing to do the work regardless of the outcome. It's about progress, not perfection. Success is about showing up, making mistakes, learning, and continuing to push forward. In a world that values speed, innovation, and creativity, perfectionism is a slow killer. It holds you back from seizing opportunities and moving forward with confidence. The key to breaking free from perfectionism is self-compassion. Recognize that you are human, and part of being human means making mistakes, experiencing failure, and learning as you go. Perfectionists often believe that failure is a reflection of who they are, that it defines them. But failure is not personal, it's an event, not an identity. When you can separate your self-worth from your work and achievements, you free yourself from the impossible task of trying to be possibly perfect. You also need to embrace the power of good enough. This doesn't mean lowering your standards or accepting mediocrity. It means understanding that perfection is subjective and often unnecessary. In many cases, good enough is not only sufficient, it's more than enough to achieve your goals, help others, and make a meaningful impact. Perfection is a moving target, but excellence is rooted in consistent effort, learning, and improvement. Breaking free from perfectionism takes time, and it starts with small steps. Begin by setting realistic expectations for yourself. Allow yourself to fail, to make mistakes, and to learn. Acknowledge the value in imperfection. Understand that life isn't about being flawless, it's about being real, taking risks, and showing up with authenticity and courage. Let go of the idea that you must have everything under control. Start taking action, even if it's messy or imperfect. Trust that each step forward, no matter how imperfect, brings you closer to where you want to be. When you stop obsessing over perfection, you create space for creativity, growth, and innovation. You open yourself up to possibility and potential in ways that perfectionism could never allow. Perfectionism is a prison of your own making. It's an illusion of control that keeps you stuck, stagnant, and unhappy. When you embrace imperfection, you embrace freedom. You begin to realize that you don't have to be perfect to be successful, worthy, or enough. You are already enough. The pursuit of excellence, not perfection, is what will propel you forward into a life of fulfillment, growth, and true success. Comfort seeking is a natural instinct, one that humans are wired to crave. It's the desire to feel safe, secure, and at ease, avoiding discomfort, risk, and uncertainty. In many ways, this urge has served us well throughout history, ensuring survival in a world filled with threats. But in modern life, this instinct, when taken to extremes, can become one of the greatest barriers to growth, achievement, and personal fulfillment. The pursuit of comfort often leads to stagnation. It's easy to fall into routines and patterns that feel familiar and safe, but these very routines can keep you stuck. They limit your potential by creating a false sense of security, making you believe that as long as you're comfortable, you're okay. The truth is, comfort doesn't lead to progress, it leads to complacency. In order to grow, evolve, and reach new heights, you must move beyond your comfort zone. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable, uncertain, sometimes even afraid. Comfort seeking can manifest in different ways, avoiding challenges, choosing the easy path, procrastinating, or staying in situations that don't serve your growth because they feel familiar. People often seek comfort in distractions, scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or overindulging in food or drink as a way to escape the discomfort of facing difficult emotions or confronting the realities of their lives. These habits provide temporary relief, but they also prevent meaningful change. Instead of moving forward, comfort seeking keeps you in a state of inertia where nothing new happens and nothing changes. One of the most damaging aspects of comfort seeking is its impact on your potential. You cannot achieve anything extraordinary while playing it safe. Success requires risk, bold action, and a willingness to step into the unknown. When you cling to comfort, you reject growth. You stay in your bubble, never pushing yourself beyond what you already know. The true magic of life happens outside that bubble, where the real learning, the breakthroughs, and the rewards lie. Comfort seeking also fuels fear. It's the fear of failure, rejection, or discomfort that makes us avoid challenging situations or risk-taking. The mind convinces us that the status quo is better than the unknown, but in reality, the unknown is where the possibilities lie. Every successful person has faced discomfort and uncertainty. They took risks, embraced challenges, and were willing to endure the growing pains that come with pushing beyond their limits. They understood that the discomfort they felt was temporary, but the rewards of growth would last a lifetime. When you seek comfort, you also miss out on life's most important experiences. Growth, change, and success come from stepping outside what feels familiar. Whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal goals, the greatest achievements require you to face discomfort head-on. They require you to step into situations where you don't have all the answers, where you're unsure of the outcome, and where failure is a real possibility. This uncertainty is where real strength is forged. The key to overcoming comfort seeking is developing the courage to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of growth. It's about changing the way you perceive discomfort. Instead of seeing it as a signal to stop or retreat, see it as an indicator that you're on the right path, that you're pushing yourself to become something greater. When you accept that discomfort as a natural part of progress, you free yourself from its grip. You begin to see it as an opportunity to grow, learn, and evolve. The discomfort you fear today will be the strength you lean on tomorrow. Every time you face something difficult and push through, you build resilience, confidence, and experience. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes. You start to realize that discomfort doesn't need to be feared or avoided, it needs to be embraced. Each time you step into the unknown, you strengthen your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. Overcoming comfort seeking requires a shift in mindset. Instead of avoiding discomfort, start seeking it out. Look for opportunities to challenge yourself, to take risks, and to break out of your routine. Whether it's starting a new project, having a difficult conversation, or trying something you've never done before, make a habit of putting yourself in situations that stretch you. This doesn't mean being reckless or doing things that put you in harm's way. It means stepping outside of the patterns and behaviors that keep you small. The path to personal growth and success is paved with discomfort. Every new achievement, every step forward requires you to step outside your comfort zone. The longer you remain in your comfort zone, the more you'll miss out on the incredible opportunities that exist just beyond it. You're capable of more than you know, but to tap into that potential, you must be willing to step into discomfort, take risks, and face the unknown with courage and conviction. By embracing discomfort and letting go of the need for constant comfort, you create the space for true transformation. You become someone who isn't afraid to fail, someone who isn't afraid to try new things, and someone who understands that the journey to success is about growth, learning, and constant evolution. The comfort you seek will never lead you to your greatest potential. Only when you step beyond it will you begin to realize who you're truly capable of becoming. In conclusion, if you truly want to succeed, you must be willing to break free from the habits that hold you back. Stop making excuses that justify inaction and start taking responsibility for your choices and your future. Let go of overthinking and the endless cycle of doubt that keeps you from moving forward and replace it with decisive action. Break the chains of procrastination and commit to doing the hard work, even when it feels uncomfortable. Silence the negative self-talk that undermines your confidence and starts replacing it with empowering beliefs. Stop blaming others for your circumstances and realize that you hold the key to your own success. Overcome your fear of failure and recognize that every setback is an opportunity for growth. Let go of toxic relationships that drain your energy and focus on those that nurture and support your growth. Release the grip of comparison and instead focus on your own journey, knowing that your progress is unique and valuable. And finally, stop seeking comfort at the expense of your dreams, because the greatest growth comes from stepping into discomfort and embracing the challenges that push you beyond your limits. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. And it's a journey that requires courage, resilience, and the willingness to step into the unknown. It's about making choices today that set you up for the success you deserve tomorrow. The power to change, to grow, and to succeed is in your hands. It starts with making the decision to stop these self-limiting habits and embracing the discomfort and challenges that come with real growth. So go forward with confidence, knowing that the life you want is waiting on the other side of those choices. Your best self is within reach, and it's time to start walking toward it.